Millionaire CEO stunned to find black single mom hiding millions in her estate. The small, weathered house on Elm Street looked like any other run-down home in a busy city neighborhood. Its chipped paint curled like old leaves in the hot sun. The porch sagged just a bit too low, and the windows bore the fingerprints of time and neglect. But inside, secrets buzzed like bees trapped in the walls. Secrets no one expected. Evelyn stood in the kitchen, wiping her trembling hands on a faded dish towel. The air felt heavy, like the walls were holding their breath. Her son Ryan, slick suit, polished shoes, a millionaire CEO through and through, had just left after whispering sweet words that felt more like knives. "You don't know what you're sitting on, Mom," he said, eyes flickering with something cold. "This house, it could make me unstoppable." Evelyn's heart slammed hard in her chest. She glanced around at the cracked tiles, the crooked picture frames that held snapshots of lighter days, birthday smiles, trips to the park before tragedy carved its mark. The air was thick with the weight of every sacrifice she'd made, every sleepless night, every tear shed in solitude. The house was her fortress and her prison, filled with ghosts of joy and unbearable loss. Ryan's visit had shattered the uneasy calm. Instead of the loving son she'd hoped for, a stranger, dripped with charm, but carried a hunger wild and grim. He paced with calculated steps, hands twitching like a viper ready to strike. His questions weren't about family or memories. No, they zeroed in on documents, deeds, hidden assets, a map for the treasure he believed she kept locked away. But Evelyn held a card he never guessed. Beneath the floorboards, beyond the cracked walls, lay a secret she had stitched from pain and courage, a fortune born not of gold or greed, but of a fight against a hospital's mist, a shield crafted from heartbreak. Outside, neighbors watched in whispers, eyes full of surprise and judgment. Millionaire living next door? That old place? Murmurs slipped between open windows and down cracked sidewalks. The contrast was sharp. A black single mom clinging to a crumbling home filled with hard-earned memories and hidden wealth. The city's noise felt distant now, swallowed by the storm gathering inside those walls. Evelyn's throat tightened. Would Ryan's smarmy grin and cold ambition break the fragile peace she'd worked so hard to create? Or could a letter, yellowed and folded, buried deep in a forgotten drawer, hold answers to a past nobody dared to face? Words from a husband lost too soon, speaking of loyalty, dreams, and unspoken promises. The tick of the old clock grew louder, each second a drumbeat, driving the tension through the house's cracked skin. Evelyn's lips pressed tight. She was no fool. She could feel the tide turning, the skeletons clawing out. But beneath the ache and cloud of betrayal, a stubborn spark glimmered. Could she turn her sorrow into strength? Could the truth in that letter rewrite the story before it tore her apart? A long silence hung, broken only by the distant hum of city life and the faint rustle of the letter's brittle edges. One thing was clear: the battle for this home, for love and legacy, was far from over. Evelyn's heart pounded in the quiet. The question lingered in the stale air. Whose story would survive when secrets met greed head-on? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without warning. Take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content that's coming. And while you're there, drop a powerful like. It really helps me with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, what city are you watching from? I love getting to know each incredible person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The tick of the old clock grew louder. Each second, a drumbeat driving the tension through the house's cracked skin. Evelyn's heart raced, a wild bird caught in a cage. Memories of Ryan's predatory eyes flickered in her mind. She couldn't shake the feeling that his charm concealed something more sinister, a darkness lurking just beneath the surface. As she gripped the letter tighter, a loud crash broke the stillness, an unexpected rattle from the back porch. Startled, she moved toward the sound, heart pounding in her ears. Was it a branch or something more deliberate? Her instincts screamed at her to retreat, to stay hidden behind the ghosts of her past. Yet a courageous impulse pushed her forward, every step weighed down by fear and uncertainty. Evelyn pushed open the door, and her breath caught in her throat. There, standing in the fading light, was a figure she hadn't expected to see. Sam, her estranged brother, a man whose existence had been buried under years of silence and resentment. He looked older, worn by a life filled with secrets and regret. "Evelyn, we need to talk," he said, his voice shaky but urgent. "What are you doing here?" she demanded, anger cutting through her surprise. Memories of their last fight flooded back. A family torn apart by disputes, a bond severed by bitterness. But looking into his eyes, she saw something different. Fear, desperation. "They're coming for you, Evie." Sam's voice trembled, breaking the facade of indifference. "Ryan's not who you think he is. He's digging into our past. He knows." Evelyn's blood ran cold. "What do you mean?" The wall of fragile calm she built began to crumble. "Mom never told you the whole story. About the money. About us, the day Dad died." Sam's gaze dropped to the ground, shame etched in the lines of his face. "You've got to listen. There's more to the settlement than you know. It's tied to our family's legacy. And Ryan is the last person you want involved. Why should I trust you?" The words slipped out through clenched teeth. Every fiber of her being fought against the notion that her brother, a ghost of her past, could hold the key to her future. "Because I'm the only one left who knows the truth," he said. His eyes glistened with urgent sincerity. "I buried that letter, a part of it you need, Evie. It explains everything. Our father's secrets, the lawsuit, the outcome. It wasn't just a mistake. It was a cover-up. They wanted to silence him." The ground felt like it was shifting beneath her feet, and Evelyn struggled to absorb the shock. Memories she had carefully locked away began to seep through the cracks. What does this mean for Ryan? What has he done? Before Sam could answer, the door swung open violently. Ryan storming in, his expression fierce, eyes ablaze with determination. "What the hell is going on?" he demanded, scanning the room and landing on Sam. "You shouldn't be here." Evelyn felt the air tighten, electric with conflict. The drumbeats of her heart synced with the chaos unfolding before her. "Ryan, wait," she began, but the words caught like barbs in her throat. "You don't understand what you're protecting. This house isn't just your past, it's mine too." Ryan's voice dripped with urgency and entitlement. "And I won't let anyone take it away from me." The tension snapped, silence crashing like glass as all three pair of eyes locked. In that moment, truth and betrayal collided. The weight of family loyalty hung heavy in the air. Suddenly, Evelyn realized the stakes. This was no longer just about a house or a fortune. This was about survival and the unmasking of the truth, a truth that could unravel everything. As the confrontation hovered, ready to ignite, a chilling realization gripped her. The secrets they fought to protect might just be the very chains that bound them. Would the truth destroy them all? Or could it forge a new path from the ashes of their broken past? The question lingered, the shadows closing in around them, suggesting a new war was about to begin. The atmosphere crackled as Evelyn's heart raced, caught between the brewing storm roiling within her home. Ryan's fury filled the room like an uninvited guest, a tangible weight that pressed against her chest. Sam stood poised by the door, trembling with the urgency of a coiled spring, unspoken truths thrumming through the air. "This is not your house, Ryan," Evelyn managed, her voice quivering with defiance as she stepped between the two men. "It belongs to our family, and I'll protect it with every ounce of my being." Ryan's expression contorted, a mask of disdain shattering to reveal wounded pride. "Family? You mean your brother, the loser you chose to have nothing to do with? You think he's going to help you?" "He's the reason Dad's gone, and you know it." Before Evelyn could retort, the door behind Sam burst open again. A figure emerged, silhouetted against the dying light. It was Lorraine, the family attorney, her face a mixture of dread and urgency. "Evelyn, you need to hear this. It's about the money, about your father." Time froze, the air thickening as Lorraine's words hung like a bated breath. Evelyn's heart sank. "What do you know, Lorraine?" she pressed, an icy knot forming in her stomach. "I was never supposed to tell anyone, but, well, with Ryan's current interest in your family's affairs, I think it's crucial." She glanced towards Ryan, her voice trembling but determined. There's a reason behind the compensation your father received. It wasn't merely a hospital error. It was a settlement intended to suffocate the truth. The weight of the revelation struck Evelyn like a blow. "What are you saying?" Sam stepped forward. "What truth?" Lorraine swallowed hard, searching for words as if their power could shatter the walls that held so many secrets. "Your father was involved in a controversy far deeper than we understood. He was a whistleblower, a doctor fighting against unethical practices in the hospital. But before he could expose them, they silenced him. The settlement was a payoff to keep him quiet. They didn't just want to protect their reputation, they wanted to erase him." Evelyn felt the ground shift beneath her. The very foundation of her family's history was crumbling in front of her. "You're saying Dad was murdered?" A chill hung in the air, charged with implications that sent tremors through her. Ryan's smirk faltered, surprise skimming over his features. "No, that's impossible. You're just trying to manipulate her. Isn't that right, Sam?" He looked over his shoulder, desperate for reinforcement. "That's not all." Lorraine rushed, narrowing her eyes at Ryan. "The settlement, Evelyn. It was designed to be passed down. You need to trust me. There's a clause that ties back to the very house you're fighting over. Ryan is after inheriting what should have been yours, unless you challenge it." Evelyn's blood chilled, realization crashing through her. Ryan's intentions were darker than she imagined. "You knew this all along?" she accused, her voice brimming with betrayal. Suddenly, Sam's gaze fixed on Lorraine, his expression shifting dramatically. You've always known," he said, voice trembling. "You're part of this, aren't you? You put this whole thing together." At his accusation, the light in Lorraine's eyes dimmed, revealing something else entirely. Fear, or perhaps guilt? "It's not what you think," she insisted, raising her hands in a placating gesture. "I just wanted to protect you, Evelyn." "Protect me? By hiding it?" Evelyn's chest tightened, adrenaline coursing through her veins as memories of her father flooded back. Pained looks, whispered warnings, the depth of his silence. The room vibrated with the weight of unspoken words. The truth threatening to burst from the cracks that had formed over years, festering with resentment and greed. Before anyone could respond, a loud crash echoed from the side yard, followed by a chilling laugh, a sound that sent shivers through the room. "Enough of this melodrama," boomed a voice, cold and familiar. An unknown figure emerged, silhouetted against the dimming light, an imposing silhouette framed by the last rays of the sun. "It's time to put an end to all this nonsense." Evelyn's breath hitched, mind racing. Who was this intruder, and how did they know her family? An icy wave of fear clawed at her throat as chaos erupted in the room. Each heartbeat echoed painfully in the tense silence, the shadows closing in, threatening to pull them away. The secrets of their family weren't just in the house. They were alive in a way no one anticipated. And if they weren't careful, the truth they were so desperate to uncover could also be the force that tore them apart. The air crackled as a shadowy figure stepped forward, laughter echoing sinisterly. "Time to end this nonsense," the newcomer declared, the voice low and familiar, wrapping around Evelyn's heart like a vice. She squinted into the diminishing light, eyes searching for recognition, but it felt like plunging into murky waters, uncertainty rising with every heartbeat. "Who the hell are you?" Ryan's voice pierced through the thick tension, incredulity mingling with a hint of fear in his tone. Sam instinctively sidled closer to Evelyn, his body tense, an unspoken warning seeping from him. The figure stepped into the fading glow, details sharpening. It was a woman, striking and composed, with an icy demeanor framed by elegant, flowing hair. "Your mother's sister," she said. She had been a distant, enigmatic figure, shunned as fiercely as she was admired. "You were dead?" Vivienne finished with a bitter laugh that echoed hollowly. "You wish. No, my dear, I've been very much alive, orchestrating things from the shadows while you've all fought over crumbs." Evelyn staggered back, her mind whirling. Why now, after all these years? The weight of Vivienne's presence felt like a storm brewing, angry and intoxicating. "Because your precious home, this crumbling shack, is worth more than you ever imagined," Vivienne said, her icy gaze sweeping the room, igniting a darkness that felt like poison. "Your father wasn't just a whistleblower. He and we were pulling strings. The money? A mere distraction from the real game." Everyone held their breath, a collective intake, as her words sank like stones, rippling the still surface of reality. Evelyn shook her head, confusion flooding her senses. "A game? What are you talking about?" "Your father was in deep, far beyond the hospital's malpractice," Vivienne continued, eyes glinting like daggers. "He was involved in something bigger, a syndicate that used their wealth to silence truth. You inherited more than just a house. You inherited a war." Ryan's expression morphed into a mix of calculation and greed. A predator spotting fresh prey in his mother's revelation. "You mean we're sitting on what? A treasure?" The desperation rolled off him like waves, thrashing against the revelation's weight. "You think this is about money?" Vivienne's voice sharpened, unwavering. "It's about power. You've been played, all of you." She stepped closer, her voice dropping to a harsh whisper. "Evelyn, I know you don't want to believe it, but the truth is much darker than you think. Your father didn't just die. He was eliminated to protect the syndicate. For years, I've tried to unravel it. But the closer I got, the more dangerous it became, until I realized I had to disguise myself to survive." Evelyn's world skidded on its axis, memories of her father, fractured by betrayal, swirling in her mind. The walls closed in, secrets buzzing beneath the surface, alive and ravenous. "And you're telling me this now because?" "Because Ryan's digging is a spark to the blaze." Vivienne's gaze shifted, calculating, unblinking. "He's the one they'll come for next. And if you don't act, you'll lose everything." The room teetered on the brink, tension curling like smoke. Evelyn's heart raced, dread intertwining with the flicker of a plan she'd yet to form. Betrayal simmered within her family like a hidden serpent ready to strike. The stakes had elevated beyond their bickering over the house. It was now a fight for truth, legacy, and, perhaps most frighteningly, survival itself. As the shadows deepened, an icy chill gripped her heart, reflecting a truth Evelyn never wanted to face. If I'm to fight this, I'll need to know everything. Her voice trailed off, swallowing her words against the tide of history crashing around them. Her fate tangled in secrets only a sister's betrayal could unlock. And somewhere deep down, a nagging thought whispered the chilling truth. In the game of life and legacy, trust was the most dangerous gamble of all. Evelyn's resolve hardened as she faced Vivienne. The truth settled in. The flickering light cast eerie shadows on their faces, emphasizing the fear curling in the room. Every breath felt electric, charged with possibility and dread. But before anyone could reply, a loud crash interrupted, a window shattering somewhere in the house, followed by a scream that pierced through the heavy air. Evelyn's heart leapt into her throat as she spun around toward the sound, adrenaline surging. "What was that?" she gasped, a cold dread creeping in, tightening her chest like a vice. Ryan's expression transformed, an instinctual fear flashing across his handsome features, and he stepped back, glancing toward the now broken window as shards of glass glinted ominously on the floor. "Stay here," Evelyn commanded, but Sam's anxious shuffle told her he was already bracing for trouble. They each looked at one another, the tension swirling like smoke. Another crash resounded, this time from the backyard. A disheveled figure stumbled into view, illuminated by a streetlight. It was a man, haggard, wild-eyed, clutching something tightly against his chest as he burst through the splintered door. "You have to help me," he shouted, panic slicing through his voice. The moment felt surreal. This intrusion, unexpected and chaotic, spelling danger. "Who are you?" Vivienne barked, her voice steady but laced with urgency. And Evelyn felt a wave of confusion wash over her. Why was this stranger here? Before he could answer, the man's terrified gaze swept over them, landing on Ryan, who stood rigid, white-knuckled. "They're coming for you too," he said, eyes wide. "You can't let them get you." And they killed him to protect their secrets. Stunned silence enveloped them. Sam's face viscerally contorted, his rage boiling over. "You're lying. You're just trying to confuse her." But the man pressed on, gripping Evelyn's arm, his fingers cold and clammy. "No, I swear, there are records, accounts. People won't stop until everything is buried. Vivienne knows. She was part of it." A collective gasp echoed along the walls, every face stricken with disbelief. Vivienne's composure slipped, a crack of worry etched deep into her features. "Don't listen to him. He's a nobody," she spat, defensive fire igniting her eyes. "But he's right, Vivienne," Evelyn pointed out, the realization hitting her like icy water. "You knew about all of this, didn't you? What are you hiding?" Vivienne's only reply was a cold smile that dripped disdain. "You think the truth changes everything? "You have no idea," she murmured, her voice breaking under the weight of her own buried history. Suddenly, behind the man, shapes emerged from the blurring shadows. Figures clad in dark jackets, features obscured but intent, a looming menace. "Get out now," one barked, a voice sharp like a knife. Panic surged, and Evelyn's heart raced, an unthinkable moment dawning upon her. "Run! All of you!" she screamed, the urgency exploding from her lips. But the revelation twisted the air around her. Questions spiraled wildly in her mind. Could this be the moment everything unraveled? Was Vivian part of the deeper conspiracy, leading all of them into a trap? Or had she been caught in the tides like the rest? The world split apart as terror struck. She darted for the door with Sam and the frantic man. Glancing back at Ryan's wide eyes, realization washing over them all like a cold wave. This wasn't just about family anymore. It was a fight for survival. Stakes bolstered by secrets they hadn't even begun to comprehend. And as the unknown figures closed in, Evelyn knew one thing. Every revelation and every hidden motive had just become a lethal weapon. A storm was brewing, one that threatened to consume them all. Would they weather it together, or would the truth prove to be their undoing? The answer hung, suspended, on the cusp of chaos. Evelyn's pulse raced as the hulking shadows advanced, panic surging through her like venom, clashing with the chaotic cacophony of panicked breaths and muffled understandings. "Run, all of you!" she shouted again, fingers running desperately against the walls, fleeing into the dim corridor, her heart pounding like a drum in a storm. Sam was right beside her, his breath labored, while the frantic man, eyes wide with terror, pulled ahead, urging them to move faster into the dark night. But just as they burst through the back door, "They're here!" the man cried, spinning around while Evelyn's world blurred, everything engulfed in an urgent haze. "Go!" she urged again, pushing Sam forward. Their escape felt like desperate choreography, movements fueled by instinct, but the jagged breath of fate felt closer than the shadows that crept behind them. A sudden wind, heavy with the scent of rain-soaked earth, swept past her, and Evelyn stumbled, just as an unearthly scream sliced through the air, a sound so raw, so filled with despair, that her heart sank. "Evelyn!" Sam shouted, turning back with a wild look. "What's happening?" "No time," she gasped, spinning toward the street, where chaos awaited. But something made her glance back as realization crashed into awareness. Vivian stood framed in the doorway, a shadow caught in turmoil, her earlier composure evaporating, replaced by a bristle of apprehension mixed with a palpable fear. "They have to see it," she screamed, voice fraying. "You all need to know the truth." "About what?" Evelyn demanded, heart thrumming with uncertainty. The wild shadows behind Vivian loomed ominously, and an unimaginable dread gripped her. The money, the secrets, they are all linked more than you know. But I can't let them take you. Not now. Vivien's voice quivered, trembling under an emotional weight that could snap at any second. Panic surged within Evelyn. What truth could be worth all this destruction? Then it happened. A roar erupted from the dark, a voice that felt familiar, crackling through the air like lightning. "Is this how you repay your family, Vivienne?" The newcomer strode forward, slick and imposing, the daylight glinting off a badge swinging from his belt. The horror crystallized as recognition crashed through Evelyn like a wave. "Detective Carter?" she whispered, the name slipping from her throat. He was the man who had investigated her father's death, the very symbol of loss, and now he stood as though intertwining past and present, fate snatching at their feet. "You had no right to keep this from us," he exploded, eyes blazing as he stepped into the light, revealing a jagged scar that crisscrossed his cheek, accentuating his grim resolve. "This is bigger than you can imagine, Evelyn." "Bigger than what?" she hissed, confusion writhing within her. "What do you know?" He paused, scanning the collected faces, then turned back to Vivienne. "I thought I would find you here. I always suspected you were involved in something deeper. The will you forged, the connections, it's all tied together. A secret cover-up that runs miles deep." The colors of confusion and horror clashed wildly in the air between them. Evelyn's world tilted again. "A forged will?" she stammered. "You mean—" "Your father planned to expose the very syndicate he was entangled with, and Vivienne helped hide it. She's not just your aunt, but an accomplice," Carter declared, the finality slicing through the atmosphere. "You're wrong!" Vivienne screamed, the facade of control crumbling. "It was to protect my family. I did what I had to." Evelyn felt her limbs turn to ice. This wasn't just betrayal. It was a spider's web of lies, ensnaring her from every direction. "You lied to me all this time, and you lied about my father," she spat, pain surging through her. The man they'd thought was their ally now stood uncertain, a glimmer of truth shimmering in his face. "They'll come for all of us, unless we act. But trust will be a harder thing to find than you think." Amid the fading night, Evelyn stood frozen, the ground trembling beneath her feet. Each breath she took radiated their fate, intertwined, caught in a tempest wrought with deceit. She realized the truth was not just a weapon, but a horror beyond comprehension, capable of shattering the fragile bonds of family and exposing the darkness lurking in their veins. A siren wailed in the distance, warning of impending chaos, the realization striking like thunder. Time was running out. Would they survive the revelations that lay ahead? Or would the weight of their past crush everything they once knew? Evelyn's pulse raced as the hulking shadows advanced, panic surging through her like venom, chaotic breaths slicing the thick air. "Run, all of you!" she shouted again, fingers grazing the walls, fleeing into the dim corridor, her heart hammering like thunder in the storm. Sam was right beside her, his breath heavy with dread, while the frantic man, eyes wide with terror, urged them to move faster into the encroaching night. Just as they burst through the back door into the narrow alleyway, a deafening bang echoed behind them, a window shattering somewhere in the house, shards of glass glittering ominously against the pavement. "They're here!" the man yelled, spinning around while Evelyn's world blurred, everything engulfed in a desperate haze. "Go," she urged again, pushing Sam forward, their escape unfolding like a frenzied dance, fueled by instinct. The sudden wind, thick with earth and rain, swept past her, and just then another enraged scream cut through the air, a sound so raw that it gripped Evelyn's heart and wrenched it sideways. "Evelyn!" Sam shouted, his eyes wide with panic. "What's happening?" "No time," she gasped, focus shifting toward the street where chaos awaited. But just as she turned, a figure surged towards them from the darkness. A man, haggard and wild-eyed, brandishing something metallic in his hands with a frenzied energy that reeked of desperation. "Help me!" he shouted, barreling forward, his fear palpable. But at that moment, the air shifted. Tension rippled through the group as a second shadow emerged from behind him. Evelyn's breath caught as she recognized Vivian's earlier composure transform into rage. "What are you doing?" she bellowed, her voice wrapped in fury, blocking the man's advance. "Get away from her!" Evelyn's heart raced as she looked between them, confusion swirling. This man didn't belong here. He was a threat, just as the dark figures inside were. But then, the truth spilled out, thicker than blood. "I know what you are, Vivienne. I know what you've done." "I don't even know you," she spat, the crack in her armor exposed. "You have no right to. I know the truth about your father." The man yelled, voice cracking under the weight of his confession. He wasn't killed for a mistake in the hospital. He was killed for trying to expose you and what you did. Vivian's eyes widened, shock rippling through her. "What are you talking about?" But before anyone could respond, the sound of boots pounded down the alley, sharp and thunderous, the dark figures spilling from the shadows like predators grabbing at the fringes of the night. "You're out of time," one barked, voice razor-edged. Evelyn felt time freeze, a split-second reality-compressing moment, as dozens of secrets tumbled through the mind like autumn leaves. Guilt, betrayal, life just outside reach. A siren wailed in the distance, creating a discord with the chaos unfurling before her. Then the man lifted the object in his hands, a gleaming gun that glinted menacingly in the streetlight. "Your family is tangled in something that could destroy us all," he shouted, confusion battling with desperation. The realization crashed over Evelyn like a tsunami. This man knew something she couldn't yet comprehend. "What do you mean?" An icy chill washed over Vivian, eyes narrowing, mouth twisting into a wry smile. "You've let them in on your little game," she hissed. "But there's a reason I've kept my distance. I've kept you alive." Before Evelyn could process the seismic shift, the man pressed on. "Your father wasn't just a whistleblower. He was a part of a bigger scheme, and you inherited more than just the house. Vivian, she's been waiting for you to realize it." Then it hit her, lightning striking nigh, drowning all other thoughts. "You're saying Vivian abandoned him to keep us in the dark?" "That's nothing," the man snarled, urgency clawing at him. Vivian wasn't just his sister. She was his accomplice in something far worse, a darker legacy, woven in lies that would expose everything your family stood for. Evelyn felt the ground beneath her buckle, each breath harder than the last, as the shadows crept closer, the dawn of a new understanding, bending truth into new shapes. "What about Ryan?" she gasped. "This involves him too?" Suddenly, a gunshot rang through the air, a fierce crack that shattered the tension, striking deeply. The man jerked back, collapsing to the ground, the metallic spark of his weapon falling from his grasp, betrayed by the very force he sought to challenge. In that instant, time froze again. The silence was thunderous, the shock curdling into horror as Evelyn stepped back, her thoughts spiral into chaos. Vivian, eyes narrowed and cold with a wicked glee, leaned down into the darkness. "You don't know who you're dealing with," she whispered menacingly. A new layer of her character emerging, reeking of everything rotten and deceptive. As the falling shadows swallowed them whole, Evelyn realized the web spun within their family was deeper than secrets. It was a foundation of deceit, built to crash down in a chaotic storm. "Everything we thought we knew is a lie," she breathed, gripped by the suffocation of realization. Her entire life a ploy they all had unwittingly participated in. A path formed, fear and dread. A decision hovered on the lips of fate. A new war brewing, and the scent of betrayal hung menacingly in the air. Would they turn the tide, or was the truth a beast too large to conquer? The answer lingered on the cusp. Vivienne snarled, creeping toward them, arms outstretched as if to embrace this newly revealed chaos. But just as Evelyn opened her mouth to retort, an electric shock sliced through the air, silencing the chaos. A pulse of light ignited overhead, spotlighting the frantic expressions that filled the alleyway, revealing true terror in Ryan's eyes for the first time. "What just happened?" he stammered, glancing around, confusion etched across his features, while Samar and the stranger huddled close, backing away in horror. "I know what happened," Vivienne yelled, voice trembling yet fierce. "This isn't any ordinary accident. We're being watched." As though summoned by her words, thunder crashed overhead, dark clouds swirling ominously. Shadows twisted and merged, heralding an arrival. A figure emerged from the shadows, stepping into the flickering light, dressed in a tailored suit that clung to an imposing frame. But it was the face that sent chills through Evelyn. Sleek and composed, features strikingly familiar. "Father?" she gasped, disbelief painting her voice. The figure bore an uncanny resemblance to the man she had loved and lost, a resemblance so acute it felt like the world spun on an unsteady axis. Tremors of confusion rippled through her, eyes darting between him and Vivienne. "But how?" Evelyn breathed, battling against realization, anger bubbling beneath the surface. "No," Vivienne interrupted sharply, the all-too-familiar contempt returning. "This isn't your father. It's someone far worse." The man moved closer, his gaze piercing and unsettling. "Evelyn," he said, his voice a low rumble, smooth like silk, yet laced with a predatory undertone. "You've inherited a lot more than a house. You've inherited a war, and today you learn the truth." "Enough of this charade!" Ryan shouted, fists clenched, tension sparking between them as the specter of truth loomed. "What do you mean you're not—" "Shh!" the man warned quietly, his eyes narrowing, holding secrets so deep they clawed back through Evelyn's mind like the frozen grip of the past. "Let her understand." Evelyn stepped back, confusion morphing into resolve, the strength she thought she lacked surfacing. "Who are you?" "I'm the reason your father is dead," he declared, the words slicing through her like a blade. "I faked my death to ensure the family secret remained hidden. All of you, pawns in a much larger game." Shock and horror flooded the alleyway, a collective gasp from those present. Ryan blinked, his foundation melting away, uncertainty unspooling like thread. You're behind this?" A twisted smile curled on the man's lips, revealing the truth behind darkness. "The syndicate runs deeper than blood. It's a world that thrives in the shadows, and you were never meant to uncover what lies ahead." The air thickened, charged with betrayal and fear. Evelyn's pulse thundered in her ears as the weight of his revelation set like lead in her heart. "You orchestrated all of this," she murmured, stepping further into the intrigue. "I needed to give you both the freedom to fight, a battle worth your lives," he proclaimed, eyes flashing with a dangerous fire. "But now, you must decide. Will you embrace this legacy, or will you let it consume you?" The thunder rumbled, an exclamation mark to this madness as Evelyn's heart ached with a miasma of confusion and betrayal. She could feel the ground shifting beneath her feet, a fissure opening wide, engulfing everything she believed to be true. "Everything I thought I knew," her voice, barely above a whisper, trembling, "was a lie. Get back!" Sam shouted, positioning himself protectively, a barrier against Evelyn's unraveling world. But the man merely smiled, a chilling halo of malice surrounding him. "You're just beginning to understand. The game has only started, dear Evelyn. Choose wisely." The shadows pulsed like breathing entities, tightening, ready to swallow them whole. In that moment, Evelyn realized everything hinged upon one bitter question. What would she sacrifice to reclaim her family's truth, to unearth the soul of a hidden past? The foundation of everything began to quake, threatening to bury them all in an avalanche of lies. And as the chaos crescendoed, Evelyn took a breath. A new war loomed on the horizon, but its outcome hung on a razor's edge. Her choice could either seal their fate or spark a fire wrought from the ashes of what came before, thrusting them deeper into a darkness they could scarcely fathom. Would she uncover the light, or would their legacy drown in blood and betrayal? The question lingered as the storm descended and chaos reigned. Evelyn felt the ground beneath her buckle, the air heavy with dread as the shadows crept closer. The newborn dawn, fighting to crack through the encroaching darkness. The sirens wailed in the distance, a harsh reminder that time was slipping away, like sand through her fingers. With the maw. But just as Evelyn opened her mouth to retort, an electric shock sliced through the air, silencing the chaos. A pulse of light ignited overhead, spotlighting the frantic expressions that filled the alleyway, revealing true terror in Ryan's eyes for the first time. "What just happened?" he stammered, glancing around, confusion etched across his features, while Sam and the stranger huddled close, backing away in horror. "I know what happened," Vivienne yelled, voice trembling, yet fierce. "This isn't any ordinary accident. We're being watched." As though summoned by her words, thunder crashed overhead, dark clouds swirling ominously. Shadows twisted and merged, heralding an arrival. A figure emerged from the shadows, stepping into the flickering light, dressed in a tailored suit that clung to an imposing frame. But it was the face that sent chills through Evelyn. Sleek and composed, features strikingly familiar. "Father?" she gasped, disbelief painting her voice. The figure bore an uncanny resemblance to the man she had loved and lost, a resemblance so acute it felt like the world spun on an unsteady axis. Tremors of confusion rippled through her, eyes darting between him and Vivienne. "But how?" Evelyn breathed, battling against realization, anger bubbling beneath the surface. "You're—" "No," Vivienne interrupted sharply, the all-too-familiar contempt returning. "This isn't your father. It's someone far worse." The man moved closer, his gaze piercing and unsettling. "Evelyn," he said, his voice a low rumble, smooth like silk, yet laced with a predatory undertone. "You've inherited a lot more than a house. You've inherited a war, and today you learn the truth." "Enough of this charade," Ryan shouted, fists clenched, tension sparking between them as the specter of truth loomed. "What do you mean you're not?" "Shh," the man warned quietly, his eyes narrowing, holding secrets so deep they clawed back through Evelyn's mind, like the frozen grip of the past. "Let her understand." Evelyn stepped back, confusion morphing into resolve, the strength she thought she lacked surfacing. "Who are you?" "I'm the reason your father is dead," he declared, the words slicing through her like a blade. "I faked my death to ensure the family secret remained hidden. All of you, pawns in a much larger game." Shock and horror flooded the alleyway, a collective gasp from those present. Ryan blinked, his foundation melting away, uncertainty unspooling like thread. You're behind this?" A twisted smile curled on the man's lips, revealing the truth behind darkness. "The syndicate runs deeper than blood. It's a world that thrives in the shadows, and you were never meant to uncover what lies ahead." The air thickened, charged with betrayal and fear. Evelyn's pulse thundered in her ears as the weight of his revelation set like lead in her heart. "You orchestrated all of this," she murmured, stepping further into the intrigue. "I needed to give you both the freedom to fight. A battle worth your lives," he proclaimed, eyes flashing with a dangerous fire. "But now you must decide. Will you embrace this legacy, or will you let it consume you? Suddenly, a shriek erupted from behind them, slicing through the tension. Get away from her! A woman burst into the alley, her breath ragged, panic reflected in her wide eyes. Evelyn, it's not what you think! Evelyn's heart dropped, recognition flooding her. Sophie, what are you doing here? Sophie staggered forward, wild and desperate. You have to listen. I've been following everything. There's something I found. Something about our families. You aren't just related by blood. We share something darker. We're connected to the syndicate. 2. Evelyn's breath lodged in her throat, the words crashing through her like shrapnel. What do you mean? Sophie's hands trembled as she pulled a folder from her bag. Papers. No! Sophie shot back, tears beginning to spill. We are part of this. Your father was in too deep with the wrong people, and they've been keeping tabs, gathering power. Before Sophie could finish, another dark silhouette emerged from the mist, an agent of chaos and malice, with an unmistakable glint of triumph in his eyes. Well played, Sophie, but you won't unravel it so easily. Evelyn's world descended into horror, the veils lifting as the shadows converged all around her. What have you done? She shouted, fury igniting her voice. The man before her wasn't just a pawn. He was the orchestrator who would tear everything apart. There exists a hidden layer to your family's disgrace, he said smoothly. And now, as we merge bloodlines, your destiny isn't merely a choice, it's a necessity. Welcome to the family business. Evelyn's stomach churned, the very foundation of her identity vibrating violently under the weight of the revelation. As fear seized her, the truth spiraled around her like a storm, leaving her gasping for clarity. The new reality warped and twisted, illuminating secret paths she never knew existed. Each moment stretched, newly baleful considerations twisting their way into her reality. And with rising despair, one unbearable question sliced through the chaos. Would she have the strength to confront her own blood, or would she drown in the darkness they all shared? Evelyn's heart pounded as truth settled in. The room felt charged, like a tightly wound spring ready to snap. You've been playing us all along, she said, eyes wide with disbelief. The man smirked, shadows dancing across his face. You're all part of a grand plan. Welcome to the family business. No! Evelyn's voice was sharp like glass, slicing through the air. You don't get to decide my fate. She stepped forward, bringing the folder Sophie had shown her into the light. We can break this cycle. We can expose everything. Ryan stood frozen, a mix of fear and newfound resolve flickering in his gaze. You think you can destroy this? You think you can just walk away? His voice trembled, not from anger, but from a deep-seated fear of losing everything. Sophie shook her head, breathing heavily. This is bigger than us, but if we stand together, if we fight together, we might have a chance. The man laughed, low and menacing. You think you can defy the very blood that runs through your veins? This isn't just family. It's legacy. And legacies protect themselves. Vivienne, looking pale and shaken, stepped back, her voice quivering. But what about us? What about our family? We can't let this destroy everything. Evelyn's chest tightened as she faced her aunt. You chose to keep secrets instead of showing us the truth. You've put us all in danger. We need to fight this together, not hide behind shadows and lies. A moment hung between them, heavy and uncertain. Then, with a shaky breath, Evelyn turned to the man who claimed to be her father. If you truly believe you can control me, you're mistaken. The shadows shrank suddenly as the sirens got louder, flashing lights cutting into the darkness. The man's confident facade cracked for a second, revealing just a flicker of fear. You think the truth matters? They'll come for you all regardless. Evelyn didn't waver. Then let them come. We deserve to uncover what's ours. We will drag the truth into the light, no matter the cost. As voices grew louder outside, the man faltered, realizing the power of their conviction. With a last menacing glare, he retreated into the shadows, leaving them trembling, yet stronger than before. Evelyn turned to Sophie and Ryan. Together we will unearth the truth, for our families and for our futures. And in that moment, the storm that had raged inside her calmed, clarity taking its place. They would fight, not in fear, but with strength forged from the pain of their history. As they stepped out into the night, the first rays of dawn touched the horizon. They were a united front, ready to confront whatever lay ahead. But inside Evelyn's pocket, the letter from her father burned against her heart, a reminder that some shadows were still lurking, waiting to strike. In the distance, a figure watched from beyond the trees, a knowing smile on their lips. Don't wait another second. You must subscribe now to catch the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button to fuel the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this last twist. And share this video right now with 5 friends who need to know how this ends. This is the moment to show your support for our amazing community.